Alright, what's brappin', my fellow Nitro heads? Last video I asked if you guys wanted a build series on the Losi 8XT. Pretty much everyone said yes. So you guys wanted it? You're getting it. This is part 1. We're going to start with bag A. Bag A, I believe, is just all 3 diffs. What I love about the TLR kits is everything's just in a little bag and everything's labeled. Like, I've seen multiple kits where they just give you thing in a great big bag and it's like unorganized chaos. I know it's more in the past kits, some people did that, but Losi just, they got your backs. Alright, let's start this build. I'm excited. Let's cut open this big bag and let's see what we got in the smaller bags. So in bag A, we got the diff cups. One is different than the other one. We got our fluids, and this is sweet. Some kits don't even give you fluid at all. So this gives you all the fluid, and we got a little tube of grease, and the rest just seems to be diff parts for all of the diffs. Alright, manual, give us some destructions. Look at that, it flipped right to it. That's all I say. Wink round. So yeah, we're building diffs, it looks like. Imagine that. They do have a different way of filling the diffs in this kit. They want you to weigh it until it gets to 40 grams. Which I find is kind of, to me, I find it's kind of stupid because first off, if you don't have a scale, you have to buy a scale. And second off, correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't some scales more accurate than others? That's just my thoughts. Alright, let's build these diffs. So first thing we're building is the rear diff. Let's check out what we got in these sweet bags. First we got our fluids. Ooh. Wow, look at that ring gear, man. It's all cut out and lightened. It even tells you the gear ratio. 4310. Sweet. So again, these are like the same as like the 4.0 outdrives. The only thing is they didn't make this inside part hollow. They just kind of milled it a little bit. So it's still lighter, but most importantly, it's got more strength to it. So this is our diff internals. Now, I'm not going to throw any of these bags out. I'm just going to put them to the side just in case. I highly doubt there's anything in here. Can't see anything in here. But just in case something's missing. One thing I really like that they included is they included the aluminum diff pins from factory. That's awesome. Alright, let's put our rear diff together. First thing I'm going to start with is the black grease. And put some grease on the O-ring. Put that grease in. We're going to put it right where this little groove is. Minty. Now, before we forget, we have a bearing. The flanged part goes towards the back of the diff case. That's just going to set on there. Look at that. Oh, everything's all oily. I don't want anything to rust. So if you guys can see here, on the output itself, there's a little groove here. That groove is to be filled with grease. So we're just going to work all that grease in, as well as we're going to put some of the excess grease on the shaft. Beautiful. Now I'm going to put my finger on the O-ring so it doesn't pop out when we put the output shaft in. Remember to wipe You need the excess grease that comes out. Now there's these shims here. You don't have to put these in. I'm just going to, because you can leave these out. Actually, I think they want you to leave these out. The TLR drivers, apparently it has freer diff actions if you leave the shims out. But again, just for something to do, I'm putting the shims in anyways. Now with a clean pair of needle nose pliers or tweezers, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to press that little shim down just so it's easier to put the crosspin in. So the rear diff calls for 5,000 weight. I'm just going to use this for now. I know what some of you are thinking, oh, what are you doing? I'll put 5,000 million, bajillion, trillion diff oil weight in there. Well, I'm not really sure what I'm doing with this yet, so I'm just building it to the kit standards. I'm just going to put a little bit of diff oil on the back of this gear. Oh, you know, I forgot a step. You need to put the pin in first. So we're going to line the hole for the pin up with the lower grooves in the diff case. So if you can see down here, very carefully, there's a groove that goes all the way to the bottom, and there's a groove that goes partially down. We want to line the hole up with the groove that goes all the way down, and we're going to slide the pin in that way. Now we're going to put our sun gear in. We're going to line up the groove with the pin. Give it a little twist, and finds its home. Move up our pins. I just don't like putting stuff dry on dry, so that's why I'm putting lube on everything. I'm going to face this groove up. Repeat the same step with the other pin. So that one's going to go down. Minto. Now I guess I'm going to need a scale. Stupid Guzak. Alright, don't know how accurate this hunk of scrap's going to be, but let's give it a shot. So all I'm going to do when I'm adding the oil is I'm going to go corner to corner until it gets to 40 grams. There we go, it's at 40. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick this up. Scale. I'm going to put my finger on the top of this. I'm going to gently work this back and forth, and that's hopefully going to get any air bubbles up to the top. And it's going to allow us to add a little bit more oil. You don't want to add too much oil. I think the reason why they want you to do this is because if you add too much oil, what you're going to get is a thing called diff lock. You don't want that. So I just did that, and as you can see, it's back at 38 grams. So that means I can add a little bit of more fluid. So we're going to let the diff chill just to let any more air out. We're going to build the top half of the diff. So same procedure as last time pretty much. We're going to put some grease on an O-ring. Going to install that on top of the ring gear. Put some grease in the groove. Work around. Peppermint. Put the flange side of the bearing to the inside of the ring gear. Slide the output shaft in. A little more grease on the shim. Again, it's optional if you want to put the shims in or not. I'm just putting them in because they're included. And the top half you don't really need any pliers for because you can actually get your fingers in there to press everything down. And I'm back with our 5,000 weight oil. A little bit of oil on the cross pin. Slide the cross pin in. Minty. A little bit of oil on the sun gear. Pop that on again, spin this. And it found its home. I'm going to put a little bit of grease on our gasket here. Work all that grease in. Minto. Still at 40. Mint! Then we're going to put our gasket on. Actually, we could put it on this side. We're going to line up the holes. Sweet. Now we can put this on and line up the holes as best you can. And the gasket just fell, but that's okay. Just use a screwdriver or something. We're going to line up the holes. Now we're going to install our screws. I'm just going to use a 2mm MIP driver, and I'm going to go corner to corner, crisscross applesauce as I always say. Not too tight, just snug. I'm not going to show it on camera because you guys don't need to see me tightening a bunch of screws. It's boring. So I'm going to tighten it, and we got our diff. Rear diff. Rear diff is complete, and man, I can't lie, this feels actually really good for a non-broken in diff. It's just a little crunchy, but once it breaks in, it's going to be perfect. That diff feels awesome. I'm going to do the rear diff off camera. It's exactly the same as the rear diff. The only difference is the front diff has a different ring gear and uses different weight oil. It uses 7,000 instead of 5,000. So I'm going to do this one off camera, and we'll do the center diff on camera because it's a little different. Alright, now we're on to the center diff. It's a little different of a setup than they used in the past, but it looks pretty simple still. These are the exact same, from the looks of it at least, the exact same outdrives as they supplied for center outdrives in the past. Drop it right in. So from the looks of it, we're going... The instructions are kind of unclear in this part. So it's kind of like that. It looks like there's like a flat side and a beveled side. It looks like the bevel side goes to the outside. Kind of like so. This diff is a little different than the other diffs. It wants you to fill it up to 46.8 grams with 12,500 weight diff oil. So there we go. Center diff is filled up with oil, and I already built up the other half of the diff just because it's exactly the same as the other two diffs, just different gear. My scale isn't completely accurate. Like I won't say like for example, I won't say 46.8. It'll just round it up, so it'll go like 47. So what I did was I got it to bounce between 46 and 47 grams, and I thought, nah, good enough. So yeah, I was just winging it with that, but I'm gonna slap this together. And did I mention this kit uses metric hardware? Sweet. There we go, guys. That was bag A of the 8XT. Yes, I did kind of blast through the video at the end, just because I didn't want this to be a million, jillion, quadrillion hours long. So hope you guys don't mind. So like I said, this does finally use metric hardware, thank God. I just find standard hardware to be a little outdated. So TLR stepped up and they made it all metric. And if you guys have any questions, the manual will explain everything. I hardly had to look at this manual. I only looked at the manual to know how much oil to put in, and for the center diff because it's a slightly different animal. But if you built the previous TLR kits, these diffs are no big deal at all. These two diffs, like I said, I didn't have to look at the manual at all. So that's it for now. And I would highly recommend, for the rest of the kit, getting an electric screwdriver. You don't have to get the snap-on one. The snap-on one is like $500. I didn't pay that. Nowhere near. I actually got this for nothing, pretty much. Some guy getting out of the trade. I worked on his lawnmower and snowblower, and he gave this to me for free. So I got snap-on bit driver, or electric screwdriver, whatever you want to call it, with some bits. I'm not going to use them. These are Blue Point bits. I'm going to get some MIP bits for the RCs. And if you do get an electric screwdriver, make sure it's got a clutch on it. So as you can see, just so you don't strip out those delicate threads. This one's fancy. It's got a light on it. It's got a battery indicator on it. Pretty sweet. So that's the end of this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace out. I'm out.